Hi, folks. I'm back here with the last little update for the first marking period for the online driver ed course. um, I talked a lot about in the last video all the things that need to be completed, so I wanted to go with that. I actually have the ability to view the course as students see it. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to just give you an example of what students can do to double check to see their grades. Yes, everything gets uploaded to PowerSchool, and you can see the grades there on PowerSchool. But I really like for students to get used to using the Schoology gradebook. If you, as an adult, have an account, you would be able to do the same thing. If you need to have the child log into their account and do it that way, you could do it this way. But what I'd like them to get used to doing is coming over here and hitting this grades button. All right, when you hit the grades button, I'll show you what happens here. So when we click that grades button, this is the grade book that Schoology puts out, which is separate from PowerSchool, and I know it gets confusing. So these are all the assessments that students have completed, and you can see this student has done really well, has 100% in all of those. Students can retake assessments, or all assignments really, up to 20 times. So if you have a perfectionist at home that wants to get 100% on an assignment, they could redo it. It automatically records the highest score. So if a student wants to get a couple more points, they could certainly do it that way. Then down here we have all the different assignments. The 3 things to be a safe driver and is how to change a tire. Those are extra credit assignments. So if you see that little kind of hyphen looking symbol that's there, just means they didn't complete it. And that's fine. You don't need to. Not a problem at all. The rest of these you can see they've gone through and they've done them. There is one that at this point in time is missing. So students still have the opportunity to go back and do that. And to be quite frank with you, our grades aren't due until next week. So as long as they go back and they do it by next week, it'll be updated on the report card. So this is where it's going to get a little hairy, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But as you go through here, you can see then at the very bottom, it gives you the course grade. That would be the overall grade for the marking period. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Again, I like students to use Schoology gradebook. Unfortunately, they're pretty much just used to using PowerSchool. So that's the easiest way to check to see if assignments are not completed. Again, if you go into PowerSchool, you would see a 0 and there would be a little message that says missing as well. That would make it clear to students that they have an assignment that they haven't completed yet. All right, so checking either gradebook works. In my opinion, it's a little bit easier on Schoology. You can actually even click right on the assignment and it would take you to it. So work is supposed to be completed by today. As I just mentioned, if students continue to work on it on the weekend, I'll grade it and accept it. It's not a big deal. There's going to be students who don't complete everything this marking period. So again, I've showed you this before. You're supposed to have these 4 modules completed. Let's say we have a student that's in module 2. They are going to need to complete module 2, complete module 3, complete module 4, and then they'll be able to get into the new stuff. All right, module 5 through 9 here. This is all new information for students for the second marking period. I mentioned this last week that since we're an approved driver ed course, students have to go from top to bottom. They have to complete all of this in order to get certified from the state. So it is a kind of a big deal that they do that. On the report card for the first marking period, a grade might be low. And as I mentioned, I can go back and I can change that. So on the second marking period report card, you would see that change. You would also see it in PowerSchool or wherever else. All right, so I want you to understand that. I know it's different than most courses. Again, this is more of a semester-based course than it is a marking period-based course. Looking at these new things, natural laws talks about things that occur in nature that have an impact on the vehicle. And the big one that we're going to talk about inside there is stopping distance. All right, and there's a lot of factors. The biggest factor that influences stopping distance is speed. All right, and there's a lot of information on that. Basic vehicle maneuvers talks a little bit about one of our favorites, which is parallel parking, and then some basic other ways of parking and things of that nature. Sharing the road, this is dealing with other vehicles and other objects that might be on the roadway, such as school buses. All right, we just had an incident here within Newberry Township where we had a young lady who was struck by a vehicle boarding a bus. I don't know how it happens. There's a giant yellow bus, flashing lights, a stop gate out, yet we hear about situations like this, unfortunately. So there's a lot of information talking about that, dealing with large vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians, all those different things in there. Situational driving is talking about more of the environment. So driving in a rural area versus an urban area versus the expressway, all those other things. So that's what this talks about. And then the last one talks about driving under the influence, and that can be alcohol, drugs, could be prescription medication. All right, even being distracted by whatever's going on in the car, cell phones, whatever it is. So this all talks about driver conditions and how it impacts one's driving ability. Again, there's some extra credit opportunities. In this one, we get a little bit more into how you would jump a vehicle if your battery is dead. And then this is for the creative folks here. This is a public service announcement that students can create. They're going to create actually a meme that describes a dangerous thing that people do while driving or situation while driving and how they could rectify that. So those are both optional. They are not necessary. If they do them, they can earn some extra points. All right. The end of the semester is January 13th. I really can't extend that except for some extenuating circumstances. And if that's the case, typically we've had some communication in some fashion if necessary. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. It's amazing when I put those zeros in last week, how much work got submitted. Right? I don't like to do that. I don't like to all of a sudden just decrease a grade. But for some students, I think they need that motivation to get started a little bit here. So moving on into the second marking period, this stuff will actually open up tonight. All these folders, same thing, complete at your own pace. When you're finished with that last module, students are finished for the course. That's it. So they could be done, in a couple weeks here, or it could take them the whole way into January. I did update if students go back in here, and I'll be putting this out to all the students as well. Oops, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing here. At the beginning of the year, I talked about a pacing guide. That pacing guide is found here in the beginning. And I've kind of updated here with the second marking period as well. So if students want to follow this pacing guide, it is located right here, and it has those dates that they should follow as well. I hope this helps. I'll continue to put videos out here for you and some reminders. Again, all I ask is that you try to help whoever's at home with you to make sure they're staying on task and up to date with this. I know an online course is a little difficult. Sometimes we forget about some things. So any help you can provide me or assist for me, it was greatly appreciated. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you later.